Hey YouTube fam, I hope you all are doing so well. I am really excited to intro today's practice with just letting you know that I am hosting a 30-day yoga challenge inside my membership site, The Kula. I will be uploading daily classes and practices throughout the whole month of April, so 30 different practices, including all sorts of movement practices of all lengths, as well as some meditation, even some philosophy chats, and some breath work. So it's really meant to be 30 days to deepen your yoga practice. If you participate for all 30 days, you will be entered to win a spot to any of my 2023 yoga teacher trainings or yoga retreats of your choice. And then 2 people will also win annual memberships to the Kula. I've created a discount code. I'll put all the information below for you all to participate at half off, so half off of your first month. And then at the end of the challenge, you can absolutely, hopefully, you'll stay in the Kula, but no pressure to. You're not required to if you sign up for the membership. But you do sign up to the membership to join for the 30-day challenge. Let me know if you have any questions on that below. I'll also link just all of my things. My Instagram is Nicole Collective. It's a great place to keep up to date with all the things that I'm putting out there. I have 7 retreats happening all over the world this year. I have a teacher training. I have a scholarship program that prioritizes the BIPOC community as well as students to get some free spots to yoga retreats and teacher trainings. And then, of course, just my regular membership site in the Kula. I upload 3 classes per week. So that was a lot of information. My whole heart is in this, in all of these offerings that I'm putting out there. This past couple years, past year in particular, has shifted everything for me in so many big ways. And not that I need to go into that rabbit hole right now, but I just want to say thank you for being here. Truly, if it weren't for the YouTube community, I wouldn't be probably doing any of the things that I'm doing right now. So my gratitude is huge, so big. Thank you. Let's go ahead and jump into a fun and playful and funky, spicy practice. And all right, let me know what questions you have in the comments about any of the previous. Let's start in a child's pose. Knees wide, big toes together, send the hips back to the heels. Walk the arms out long in front of you and engage the finger pads, knuckle pads down into the mat. Sink the heart towards the floor. Take a big in breath through the nose. Big exhale back out. In your child's pose, let's come onto the fingertips and lift the palms from the mat, and then let the heart sink even a little closer to the floor. So getting a big stretch for the shoulders, soften the jaw. Letting yourself arrive and land onto your mat, not only physically, but also in the mind space and in the heart space. Is there any more of you that could be here now, that could show up for your practice today? And we've got just 1 or 2 more cycles of breath, and then we're going to move into our movement practice pretty quickly. If the palms are lifted from the mat, let's soften them down. Round through the back body as you roll up towards and then past the tabletop position. Send the hips down and forward. Engage into the glutes. Thread the heart through shoulders onto the back body. You can bend into the elbows as much as you need to here in order to support the low back. On your exhale, let's bend into the elbows, roll the heart down to the floor. Let the forehead tap the mat, that space of the third eye, and then ground into the knees. Press up just into a tabletop position. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Fingers spread wide, finger pads, knuckle pads engaged. Let's take some circles on the wrists, rolling out in one direction, and then swap it out, roll them out in the other. Find your way back through neutral. Let's tuck onto the toes. Lift the knees just to 1 inch above the mat, so hovering tabletop position. And then take a little shift forward and back. So gliding the knees just 1 inch above the floor, getting into the feet and the ankles a little bit, and also firing up the core muscles. Find your way back through stillness. Keep the knees to a hover. Tap the right hand to the left shoulder. And then drop the right hand back down. Left hand to the right shoulder. Left hand back down, couple more each side, alternating back and forth, keeping the core really engaged and the hips kind of as stable as possible, so as little movement as you can in the lower body. Next time you're even on both sides, let's find our way back through neutral. So wrists under shoulders, let's drop the knees back to the floor. Take a big step forward with both hands and melt the heart to the mat. Untuck the toes, puppy pose. Gaze is kind of up towards the thumbs, or maybe not even quite that high. We want to keep the gaze forward so that the chin is lifted, but not so that we're causing tension in the neck. Take a big inhale through the nose. And then exhale, sink the heart even a little closer to the mat. Puppy pose. Tuck the tailbone. Let this cause a ripple up the spine. Roll all the way through to your seal pose. Shoulders onto the back body. Heart threads through. And then exhale. Lower the heart to the floor. Slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck onto the toes. With the knees either grounded or lifted, your preference. We're going to press all the way up. High plank. Wrists under shoulders. Lower the knees to a hover above the mat. Right hand taps left shoulder. Back through center over to the right, just alternating back and forth a couple times. We're gonna go through this same sequence a couple of times, but we're gonna pick up our pace just a little bit. Next time you're even on both sides, come back through neutral, drop the knees down to the floor. Big step forward with both hands, melt the heart to the floor, puppy pose. Gaze is forward, big inhale, and then big exhale to soften the heart a little closer to the mat. Tuck the tailbone, let it start to ripple up the spine to pull you all the way forward. Seal pose, shoulders onto back body, and then exhale, heart to the floor. Hands slide underneath the shoulders, tuck onto the toes. Knees either to the floor, lift it up, press all the way up, high plank. One more time, knees to a hover. An inch above the mat, right hand taps left shoulder. And then the left, just alternating back and forth a few times. Engaging into the core. And the shoulders, and the legs. One more each side, and then once you're even on both sides, find your way back to neutral. Last time here for now, drop the knees. Big step forward with both hands, melt the heart towards the floor, puppy pose. If I had to choose one pose that is my absolute favorite right now, this one's it. If you're working on handstands in your practice, I suggest most of us in a handstand practice could benefit from more time in this shape. Tuck the tailbone, let it cause a ripple up the spine, roll forward, engage into the glutes, thread the heart through. On your exhale, roll the heart down to the floor. Slide the hands underneath the shoulders, tuck onto the toes, press all the way up, high plank, and then exhale, downward facing, send the hips back. Pedal out the feet. Bending into one knee, bending into the other knee, shifting the hips side to side. Movement that feels good in the body. As you are ready for it, take a slow walk with the feet to the top of the mat. Find your fold. Uttanasana. Generous bend in the knees once you land there. Clasp opposite elbows, little sway side to side. Dropping the head, maybe shaking the head, yes, no, rolling out the back of the neck. Finding your way back through neutral, let's release fingertips down towards floor. Inhale, roll up the spine one vertebrae at a time, coming all the way to standing. Arms sweep up and over at the top. Once you're there, come up onto the toes, let the heels lift. Slow-mo, we're gonna bend into the knees. The slower you go, the more challenging this becomes. We're firing up the muscles of the legs until the hips land all the way to the heels at the top of the mat. Tiny bit of mobility here. We're gonna lean the upper body back, tap the knees to the floor with or without the help of the hands, and then pull the knees back into the chest. Drop the heels down, drop the hips down, low boat, heels and heart to a hover above the mat. Squeeze everything in towards the midline. So heels squeeze together, inner thighs squeeze together, fire up the core. In breath, come back up through center. On your exhale, with or without the help of the hands, we're gonna plant the feet, lift the hips. Plant the hands to the floor. If you want to add in a crow pose here, you could, although it's totally optional. You're going to step back, hop back, vinyasa through, whatever movement carries you to your downward dog. So again, no right or wrong way to get there. Connect your movement with your breath along the way. From your down dog, come up onto the toes, bend into the knees. Exhale the feet to the top of the mat, fold. In breath, halfway lift. Open the mouth for your exhale and let it go. Inhale, rise, come all the way through standing. Arms extend up overhead, shift to the toes, let the heels lift. Bend into the knees, slow-mo, we come all the way down, hips towards the heels at the top of the mat. Once you're there, you're welcome to stay here or lean the upper body back, tap the knees to the floor, a little bit of mobility. Pull the knees back in, drop the heels down, drop the hips down, low boat. Picking up our pace, we're gonna go with this flow a few times, come back up through center. Plant the feet with or without the help of the hands, lift up, take it straight into your vinyasa. So either rocking forward into a crow pose or simply stepping back, hopping back, flowing through. No right or wrong way to get there, truly. Let this be your practice. And if ever you find yourself thinking about what you should be doing, close the eyes and move from a place of feeling instead. Bend into the knees, let your exhale carry the feet to the top of the mat, fold. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, move it through. In breath, rise, come all the way through standing. Arms extend, shift to the toes, heels lift, slow-mo. We're bending into the knees, squeeze knees towards each other until the hips reach the heels at the top of the mat. Lean back, let the knees tap the floor. And then pull them back in, heels to the mat, hips to the mat, lower. In breath, come back up through center. Plant the feet, plant the hands. You're welcome to skip the crow pose and just step back, hop back. You could also add on from here, take it into an inversion. No right or wrong way to move. We meet in our downward dog. We're gonna take one more round just like that. Let your exhale carry the feet to the top of the mat, fold. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, let it go. Roll up the spine, come all the way to standing. Arms sweep up and overhead at the top as you shift to the toes, heels lift. Slow bend into the knees, bringing the hips all the way to the heels at the top of the mat. Lean back, let the knees tap. And then pull the knees back in, let the heels drop, let the hips drop, low boat. We're gonna add on a little bit of spice this time. Come up high, boat, spine tall. If you want more, straighten out the legs. Exhale, lower, heels and heart an inch above the mat. Come back up, lower, hover. Couple more in breath, lift up. Exhale, lower down. Keep squeezing knees together, inner thighs together. Come back up through center one more time. Lower heels and heart to a hover above the mat. Come back up through center, your vinyasa. So plant the hands, shift forward, either a crow pose or just a step back, a hop back. Child's pose is always an option. No right or wrong way. I know I repeat it, but I repeat it because it's so easy to forget that this is your practice. Move with you. On your in-breath, sweep the right toes high. Bend the knee to open up the hip. Point the right knee up towards the ceiling and squeeze the right heel into the glutes. And then drop the right toes back down to the mat. Left toes lift. Bend the knee, open up the hip. Let this feel good and stretchy. Drop the left toes back down to the mat. On your exhale, like a wave, ripple forward, plank pose, wrists under the shoulders. Either stay here or on an exhale, halfway lower, hold for a breath. Knees can drop if you need. We're gonna press back up, high plank. Bend into the knees until you find that hovering tabletop position. We're gonna get funky with this. Left hand to the right shoulder and pause there. We're gonna spin the right foot flat and kick the right leg through off to the left side of the mat. Deep bend into the left knee so you're sending the hips towards the back of the mat, and then press outside edge of right foot to the floor. Extend through the left leg as you sweep left arm up overhead, fallen star. Circle left hand towards top of the mat. And then release left hand to the mat. Shift to the left toes, keep the right foot where it's at. For a moment, drop the right hip to tap the mat. And then pull it back up. 2 more times, right hip taps or reaches towards the floor. It's okay if it doesn't touch, lift back up. 1 more time, right hip releases down. Come back up, we're gonna stay on the left toes, pull the right knee to the right elbow and pause here. Press the floor away. Step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Left hand stays where it's at. Right fingertips open up, find your twist. Shift to the outside edges of both feet, horizon pose, letting the left hip drop down, right fingertips point back. And then as you lift the hips back up, come all the way to wild thing, right toes. Take a big step behind you and let the heart open up towards the ceiling. Take the right hand into a fist here and circle out the wrist. On your in-breath, come back through center, high plank, wrists underneath the shoulders. Take a moment to meet the shape and to find your breath. And then either take it through a vinyasa or send the hips straight back, downward facing. Big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. And then filling up the lungs once again. On your exhale, like a wave, ripple forward, plank pose, and pause. So wrists under shoulders, you can either stay here or for a little more spice, lower halfway. Hold for a breath. Knees can drop if you need them to. Press back up, high plank. And then keep the wrists under shoulders, bend into the knees until they're at a hover above the mat. So floating tabletop. Bring the right hand to tap the left shoulder. Spin the right foot flat, kick the left leg through, off to the right side of the mat. Deep bend into the right knee, sending hips towards the back of the mat. And then outside edge of the foot to the floor. We're coming to a fallen star as you straighten through right leg and extend right fingertips up overhead. Circle the right hand forward. Lengthening out down the right side body. On your in-breath, circle the right hand to the mat, shift to the right toes. Keep the left leg off to the right. Either hang right here or left hip taps, open up the heart. And then lift back up. Curl in 2 more times, left hip taps. Lift up, curl in 1 more time, left hip taps. Lift back up, pause and hold here. We're gonna stay on the right toes. Slide the left knee to the left elbow, hold. And then step the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Drop the hips down and forward. Right hand stays planted as you open left fingertips, big twist. Option to spin to the outside edges of the feet, dropping right hip down and pointing the left fingertips towards back of the mat. Horizon pose. Meet the shape with your breath. And then as you lift the hips up, stay on the outside edge of the right foot. Either one big step or a couple little ones. Left foot takes a big step behind you. Wild thing. So pressing the hips and the heart high, take the left hand into a fist and circle out the wrist. And then use your inhale to come back through center plank pose, your vinyasa. Or send the hips straight back, downward dog. On your next exhale, step, walk, or hop the feet to the top of the mat, find your fold. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, rise, come all the way through standing, arms extend up overhead, palms touch, open up the heart. On your exhale, find your fold, Uttanasana. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, plant hands, a vinyasa to rinse it out. If you want to add a crow pose or an inversion, you could. You could step back, hop back. Child's pose is also a place you could go. Meeting with the hips up and back, downward facing. We're going to let that last sequence kind of start our main flow. But we're going to add on, take out, switch it up. Some of it will feel familiar. Exhale, ripple forward, plank pose. Either hold at the top or bend into the elbows, lower half. High plank, press back up. Let the knees hover to 1 inch above the mat. Left hand taps right wrist. Right foot to the left side of the mat, send the hips back. And then open up, fallen star. All right, here's where it gets funky. We're gonna press into the outside edge of right foot. See if you can pull left knee up towards left armpit. Step the left foot all the way to the top of the mat. All right, on your in breath, reverse half moon. Right hand stays down, right toes lift. Use the strength of the core here to find your twist. So maybe you even hover the right hand. Bend into the left knee to step the right toes back. Lift the upper body, keep the twist to the left side of the room. On your in breath, find your reverse. Left hand, right thigh, right arm comes up and over. On your exhale, all the way back to your reverse half moon, weight into the left foot. Right toes lift, take your time in the transitions. Never any need to rush through the shapes. We're gonna come back to our twist, bend into the left knee, right toes, plant spine tall as you reach fingertips long in both directions. This time, keep the twist. We're gonna shift our weight into the left foot, either one big step or a couple little ones, twisted chair. Knees come in line. Hips are squared to the top of the mat. On your in-breath, release the twist, come all the way through standing. Palms touch overhead, open the heart. On your exhale, find your fold, Uttanasana. With your inhale here, we are gonna roll up the spine one vertebrae at a time. Take this slow, articulating up the back body. Arms sweep up and over. Shift to the toes, let the heels lift, and then slow-mo, bend into the knees until the hips eventually lower all the way to the heels at the top of the mat. Stay here or lean the upper body back. You can tap the knees for a moment, and then pulling knees back into the chest, drop the hips, drop the heels, low boat, heels and heart to an inch above the mat. You know where we're going from here. Next place we meet is in our down dog. Come back up through center. Plant the feet. You can use the hands if you need to. We're going to shift forward if you want to add your crow pose or your handstand or your headstand, or simply just a moment to close the eyes and breathe. Check in with what you need, and then carry yourself through to a downward facing dog. Staying connected with breath along the way. One more time for that full sequence on the second side. With your exhale, roll the spine forward like a wave, plank pose. Hold at the top or lower half. Press back up, high plank, and then bend into the knees. Let them come to a hover above the floor. Right hand taps left shoulder. Right foot spins flat as you kick the left leg through, send the hips towards the back of the mat. Outside edge of the foot to the floor as you extend, open, fallen star. Right shoulder stacks on top of left. Reach the right hand forward. Press into the left foot to pull the right knee up towards right armpit, and then step the right foot all the way to the top of the mat. On your in-breath, open it up. Reverse half moon. So we're going to keep the twist to the right. Maybe you hover left fingertips for a moment, strength of the core to twist even a little deeper, and then slow bend into the right knee. Left toe step back. Lift the upper body, keep your twist. Reach through the crown of the head. One more exhale to twist even a little deeper. Option to find your reverse. Right hand, left thigh, left arm up and over. On your exhale, we're going to come all the way back forward into our reverse half moon. Take your time in the transition. Weight to the right foot, left toes lift. Keep the focus on the twist, spinning right shoulder open. Rebend into the right knee, left toe step back, lift up through center. Reach through the crown of the head. We're keeping the twist. Shift your weight into the right foot. With the left foot, take a step forward. Twisted chair. So knees are in line, hips are in line. Sink a little deeper into the shape. On your in-breath, release the twist. Come all the way through standing, palms touch. Open up the heart. And then exhale, brings you all the way down. Find your fold. One vertebrae at a time. Roll it up. As you inhale all the way to standing. Arms sweep up and over at the top. Shift to the toes, let the heels lift. Slow bend into the knees. Make this your slowest one yet. Squeezing inner thighs together, squeezing heels together. Once the hips meet the heels at the top of the mat, lean back, let the knees tap the floor for a moment. And then knees back into the chest one more time here. Heels drop, hips drop, low boat. Again, everything squeezes in towards midline. We are firing up the center line of the body. Come back up through center, high boat. And then plant the feet. Your choice, how you get to a down dog. You could just step straight there. You could vinyasa through. You could find an arm balance or an inversion along the way. Whatever movement you take, stay connected to your breath, or even just some sort of awareness of it, even if you're not moving exactly with the rhythm of it. landing in your down dog for a full cycle. On your next inhale, let's reach the right toes high. On your exhale, bend into the left knee until it taps the floor for a moment. And then lift the left knee all the way back up. Next exhale, we're bending into the left knee just enough to hop off of the left foot, standing split to the top of the mat. It might take one big hop or several little ones to get there. You can always add a handstand in along the way. We're gonna come onto the fingertips either to the floor or onto props. Flex out the right toes. On your exhale, tap the right toes to the right wrist or wherever the toes land, and then kick back up. 2 more times, right toes tap right wrist, and then lift all the way back up. Once more, right toes tap right wrist or wherever they land. This is so much harder than it should be. Lift back up, right toes sweep high. Bend into the left knee, right toes take a big step to the back of the mat. Come all the way up, high crescent. Let the hips drop low, reach through the fingertips, inhale. On your exhale, warrior 2, right foot spins flat. Extend the fingertips in both directions. Inhale, reverse, right hand, right thigh, left arm comes up and over. On your exhale, cartwheel the hands, frame out the left foot. Step back to a plank pose, wrists underneath the shoulders. Bend into the elbows, lower half. Press back up, high plank. Bend into the knees until the knees come to a hover. Left hand taps right wrist. Right foot kicks through to the left side of the mat. Open it up, fallen star. This time, maybe you lift the right toes from the mat, adding a little bit more spice. And then as we circle left hand to the mat, bring the right knee to the right elbow and pause. Press the floor away. Round through the back body. Open it all the way up to wild thing. Right toes step behind you. Press the hips and the heart high. Roll the right shoulder onto the back body. On your in breath, circle back through center. Find your high plank. Wrists underneath the shoulders. No rush to get there. Either move through a vinyasa or send the hips straight back, downward facing dog. Little bit of a shorter sequence, but still really playful. Take it at a pace that feels good to you, and with your inhale, sweep the left toes high. We're gonna bend into the right knee until the right knee taps the floor. And then stay tucked onto the right toes, lift all the way up, pull the heart back. Bend into the right knee just enough to hop forward, standing split. Maybe you catch the balance and handstand along the way, or maybe you take several steps to land there. Once you're there, we're gonna come onto fingertips, flex out the left toes, exhale, tap the left toes to the left wrist or wherever they land, and then extend left foot high. 2 more times, left toes tap, left wrist or wherever they land, extend up and kick. 1 more time, left toes tap. In breath, kick up. Bend into the right knee to take a big step back with the left foot as you inhale, high crescent. Upper body lifts, palms touch. Exhale, open it up, warrior 2, back foot spins flat. Fingertips extend in both directions. With your inhale, find your reverse, left hand, left thigh, right arm comes up and over. Exhale, cartwheel it out, frame out the right foot, step back, plank pose, wrists under shoulders. Stay here or exhale, lower half. High plank, press back up. Bend into the knees until the knees come to a hover above the mat. Right hand taps left shoulder. Right foot spins flat as you kick the left leg off to the right side of the mat. Send the hips back. Outside edge of the foot to the floor as you extend open. Finding your fallen star. Maybe this time you lift the left toes from the mat, pointing out the left foot. Adding on opportunities for spice. We're gonna circle right hand back down to the mat as the left knee comes to the left elbow. Or maybe the left knee slides up towards the armpit. Press the floor away. Like I press the slow motion button, pivot the left toes open, peel the left hand from the mat, wild thing. Hips and heart, press high. Maybe circle out left wrist for a moment, and then in breath, come back through center, high plank. Wrists under shoulders, maybe a vinyasa, or send the hips straight back, downward dog. One cycle of breath here. And then as you're ready for it, on an exhale, let's hop the feet to a Malasana yogi squat at the top of the mat. So feet wide, hips low, elbows to the insides of the knees. Let's interlace all 10 fingers and circle out the wrists. We're gonna come back into our sequence one more time, but before we do, giving the wrists a little bit of a break, switch direction of your circles. With the hands interlaced, except for the thumbs, press the palms forward, round through the back body. Chin in towards chest. It's all good if the heels are not to the floor here. In breath, peel the heart open. Pull the pinkies towards the space behind you. Thread the heart through. On your exhale, release hands towards floor. Lift the hips. Find your forward fold. Walking the feet in so that they are hip-width distance apart. Take a big inhale through the nose. Maybe a little lift with the spine. And then as you exhale, fold. Let it go. One vertebrae at a time, inhale, roll it up, come all the way to standing. Sweep the arms up and over with the right hand, catch the left wrist, lift up and out of the waist and lean to the right, lengthening out down the left side body. On your in-breath, come back to center, left hand to the right wrist, lift up and out of the waist and lean open to the left. Right shoulder spins open. On your in-breath, come back to center, soft bend into the knees, circle hands to interlace at the low back. Start by peeling the tailbone open and threading the heart through. And then with the interlace of the hands, exhale, dive forward, heart towards the thighs, crown of the head towards the floor, heels of the hands squeeze together. Big inhale through the nose and maybe an exhale through the mouth. Release the fingertips down. This is a choose your own adventure along the way back to a down dog. If you're feeling spicy and you want to add on an inversion or an arm balance, go for it. If you want to add on a vinyasa, a child's pose, or just step straight back, downward facing. One more sequence before we start to slow things down. On your inhale, sweep the right toes high. Bend into the left knee until the left knee taps the floor, and then lift all the way back up. Bend into the left knee so you can hop the left foot to the top of the mat, standing split. You're welcome to play with catching the balance and handstand along the way. And then with the fingertips to the floor, flex the right toes tap right wrist, or wherever they land, and then kick all the way up. 2 more times, right toes, right wrist. In breath, all the way up. Once more, right toes, right wrist. In breath, kick the right foot high. Start to hover the hands from the mat. Bring palms to touch at the heart. On your inhale from the back body, lift up, warrior 3, spine parallel to the floor. Core is engaged, lift the right heel a little bit higher. Extend the fingertips forward and then bend into the left knee. Step the right toes to the back of the mat. Upper body lifts, high crescent lunge. On your exhale, pivot open, warrior 2. Right foot spins flat, fingertips reach in both directions. On your in-breath, Skandasana, hips on top of right heel at the back of the mat. We are going to pivot to the back of the mat here, planting the left hand, shift to the left toes, right fingertips open up. Option to stay here or horizon, shift to the outside edges of the feet, letting the left hip drop down. As we lift the hips up, we're going to stay on the outside edge of the left foot. Take a big step back with the right foot, side plank, left side. Pull the hips up. Reach the right fingertips forward. Start to play with pulling right knee up towards right armpit. We're going to take a big step back to the top of the mat. Right foot steps forward. Shift to the left toes. On your in-breath, don't let me rush you. We're keeping a rhythm, but move with your breath. Inhale brings you up. Keep the twist to the right. Strength of the core to wrap the lungs around the heart. We're going to shift our weight into the right foot. This might feel familiar. Shift your weight into the right foot, left foot steps forward, keep the twist to the right side of the room. On your in-breath, come all the way through standing, arms extend up overhead, palms touch, open up the heart. With your exhale, dive it forward, Uttanasana, find your fold. In-breath, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, your vinyasa. If you want to play with a handstand, or an arm balance along the way,
You absolutely can. It is all optional. We meet in our downward dog. That whole thing one more time. Second side. Find a moment here to find your breath, to make sure you feel the floor beneath you in your hands and in your feet to stay grounded even as we move energy through. Then on your inhale, sweep the left toes high. Exhale, right knee taps the floor, three-legged table. Lift back up, pull the heart back, pull the hips back. Bend into the right knee enough that you can hop the right foot to the top of the mat, standing split, your choice if you add the balance in along the way. Then coming up onto fingertips, flex left toes, exhale, tap left toes to left wrist. In breath, kick all the way up. Exhale, tap left toes, left wrist, and then kick and extend. Once more, left toes, left wrist, or wherever they land. In breath, kick all the way up. Once you're there, start to hover the hands. Maybe palms come to touch with the heart. From the back body, Virabhadrasana 3. Lift the spine until it's parallel to the floor. Lift the left toes a little higher, which will require you to engage into the left glutes. Extend the fingertips forward, and then slow motion bend into the right knee until the left toes step back. Upper body lifts, high crescent, lift up and out of the waist. Exhale, opens you up, Virabhadrasana 2, back foot spins flat. Fingertips reach in both directions. On your in breath, hips on top of the left heel, Skandasana, at the now back of your mat. But then we're pivoting our way back around. Right hand plants, shift to the right toes, left fingertips open up. Option to stay here or to shift to the outside edges of the feet, dropping the right hip down and pointing the left fingertips back. Keep the outside edge of the foot to the floor. Lift the hips back up. One big step or several little ones. Left foot takes a step back, side plank on the right side. Extend the left fingertips towards top of the mat. Find your breath here. Breathe into the challenge of it. And then as you're ready, and take this slow, we're pulling left knee up towards left armpit. Either one big step or several little steps. Left foot steps all the way to the top of the mat. As you shift to the right toes, keep the twist. Left shoulder on top of right. Stay grounded underneath the left heel. On your in-breath, come up, find your twist to the left side of the mat. Strength of the core to wrap the lungs around the heart. Big step forward with the right foot. Might take a couple steps to get there. Meeting in your twisted chair. Knees are together. Hips squared off to the top of the mat. In breath, come to standing. Palms touch. Release the twist. Open up the heart. Exhale, dive it forward. Uttanasana. Fold. In breath, halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Plant hands. Your vinyasa, anything you'd like to add along the way is welcome. Meeting with the hips up and back. Downward facing. Landing with a breath here. Before we start to slow things down, we're going to take that sequence that we just did one more time. One breath per movement, really for the sake of getting into the flow of it, getting out of our heads, dropping right into our bodies, and letting movement be medicine for the physical body. On your inhale, sweep the right toes high. Bend into the left knee, let left knee tap the floor, and then lift all the way back up. Bend into left knee enough that you can hop the left foot to the top of the mat, standing split. And then just once this time, right toes tap right wrist or wherever they land. In breath, right foot sweeps high. From the back body, lift up, Virabhadrasana 3, palms touch at the heart. Extend the fingertips forward. Left knee bends to step the right toes back, high crescent, lift up and out. Exhale, pivot open, Virabhadrasana 2. Skandasana to the back of the mat, hips on top of right heel, left leg straight. We're pivoting to the back of the mat, left hand plants, right fingertips sweep up and over. Move with you, even if you're not with my pace. Option for horizon, shift to the outside edges of the feet.
And then as you lift the hips back up, maybe right foot takes a big step back, side plank. Reach the right fingertips towards top of the mat. And then as you feel stable here, start to pull right knee back up towards right armpit. We're taking a big step back to the top of the mat. Right foot plants, shift to the left toes. Keep the twist as you inhale, come up through standing. So you're twisted to the right. Strength of the core to wrap the lungs around the heart. Shift your weight into the right foot, one big step or a couple little ones, left foot steps forward. On your inhale, release the twist. Come all the way to standing, open up the heart at the top. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana all the way down. This will feel familiar. We're gonna roll up the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Arms sweep up and over. Shift to the toes, let the heels lift. And then slow bend into the knees until eventually the hips reach the heels at the now top of your mat. Once you land there, you can stay right here, or you could lean upper body back, tap the knees to the floor. Pull knees back into the chest. Again, you could stay here, or you could drop the heels to the floor, the hips to the floor. Low boat, firing up the core. On your in-breath, come back up through center. It is your Vinyasa. Plant the feet, lift the hips, plant the hands. Maybe an inversion or an arm balance or a child's pose. Or something that doesn't even look like a shape with a name. It doesn't have to look like any pose in particular for it to be beneficial for your body. Okay, last time, last side, last sequence before we slow things down. On an inhale, lift the left toes high. Bend the right knee until it taps the floor. Gaze forward. Lift back up, pull the heart back, pull the hips back. Bend into the right knee enough that you can hop off the right foot. Maybe you work towards catching the balance, or maybe not. Standing split top of the mat just once. Flex out the left toes. Tap the left toes to left wrist. And then kick all the way back up, standing split. Find stability underneath the right foot. And as the hands get lighter on the floor, lift up, warrior three. Lift the left toes, extend the fingertips towards top of the mat, and then slow bend into the right knee to step the left toes back. High crescent lunge, lift up and out of the waist. On your exhale, pivot open, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, Skandasana, hips on top of left heel, back of the mat, right toes point up. Pivot to the original top of your mat. We're coming back to the top of the mat, find your twist. Option to spin to the outside edges of the feet, dropping right hip down. Even if this is just a micro movement, it might not look super dramatic. Lift the hips up. Stay on the outside edge of the right foot. Either one big step or a couple little ones. Left foot comes back, side plank on the right side. Pull the hips up. Extend the left arm forward. As you're ready for it, take it slow. Left knee pulls up towards left armpit. Big step with the left foot all the way to the top of the mat as you shift to the right toes. Find your twist with the upper body. Ground into left heel. In breath, come all the way up. Keep your twist. Fingertips reach in both directions. Our last time in this shape. Either one big step or a couple little ones. Right foot meets the left. Sit deep. Ground into the heels. Come all the way to standing. Palms touch. Heart opens, little back bend. Exhale, fold. Uttanasana. Come all the way back down. Roll up the spine. Our last time in this funky transition, come all the way to standing. Arms sweep up and over. Shift to the toes. Let the heels lift. And then slow-mo, bend into the knees until eventually the hips reach the heels at the top of the mat. You are welcome to hang out here or lean back, tap the knees to the floor. Pull the knees back into the chest. Drop the heels down, drop the hips down. Low boat. Our last time here for today's practice, I promise you. Everything squeezes in towards the midline. On your in-breath, back up through center. One last funky vinyasa. Plant the feet, plant the hands. Take the next several breaths to carry yourself into a downward dog.
Meeting with the hips up and back. The heart reaching towards the thighs. The heels reaching towards the floor, whether or not they touch. Drop the head. On your next exhale, let's ripple the spine forward. Find your plank pose. Wrists under shoulders. Drop the knees to the mat, tabletop position, and then big step forward with both hands. Melt the heart towards the floor, puppy pose. Gazes forward towards the hands, but not so far forward that you're causing any tension in the neck. Keep inviting the heart down. One more exhale to sink a little closer with the chest towards the floor. And then again, we're going to start with that tuck of the tailbone and let it ripple up the spine, bringing you all the way through to a Sphinx pose or a seal pose. You can bend into the elbows as much as you need to here to support the low back. Take an inhale at the top. And then on your exhale, lower the heart down towards the floor. Slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck onto the toes, knees grounded or lifted. Press all the way up, high plank. And then send the hips back, downward facing. We're going to start to slow things way down. On your inhale, sweep the right toes high. Bend the knee, open up the hip. Pointing right knee towards ceiling and squeezing the right heel into the glutes. On your exhale, right knee comes to the left elbow. We're going to step the right foot off to the left side of the mat and then drop the right hip all the way down towards floor. Untuck left toes. This might be where you hang for the remainder of this shape. Or you could come down to forearms. You could find your way towards belly. You could bring the forehead to rest onto something. Big inhales and big exhales. Keep inviting the right toes back towards you. It's going to lengthen out the outer right hip and IT band. If you feel like you need more intensity, play with straightening out the right leg a little bit more. Here just for another breath or two. And as you feel ready for it, on an inhale, we're going to press back to the hands. Tuck onto the left toes to lift the left knee and then lift the hips up. Slide the right knee to the right elbow and then step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Open right fingertips up and over. Option to bend into the left knee and drop it to the floor. Option to squeeze the left heel into the glutes and reach the right hand for the left toes. Keep opening heart towards sky and pressing the hips down and forward. We're going to keep left knee down if you've grounded it. If you've got the right foot to the left toes, unravel and just coming through center, you can either stay on the hands or you can lower to the forearms or bring forearms to a prop if that is available. Couple cycles of breath. Using the breath to soften the sensation that's happening in the body, likely in the right hip. And then as you're ready for it, which might not be yet, you can linger here for as long as you'd like. We're going to come back to the hands. Tuck onto the left toes to lift the left knee. Step back into a plank pose, but as you do, we're going to bend into both knees and pull the heart back, pull the hips back like you're kind of crouching above the mat. And then exhale like a wave, roll forward. If you want a vinyasa, you could take it, or you could just roll out the dog and send the hips right back, downward facing. Same stretchy cool down flow, second side. On your inhale, sweep the left toes high. Maybe you bend the knee for a moment, open up the hip. On your exhale, left knee to the right elbow. Step the left foot to the right side of the mat. Outside edge of the foot to the floor. Stay on the right toes as you lower the left hip down towards the mat. Untucking the right toes at the bottom. You can either stay right here if this feels like enough for the hip, or you could lower down towards forearms. You could make your way towards belly.
And if it's possible, rest your forehead into something, so that space of the third eye, releasing it into some sort of support so you're not holding up the head, the neck at all. Keep flexing left toes towards you, maybe straightening out more through the left leg if you feel like you need more sensation in the shape. And continuing to let the breath pull you again and again into the body and into the present moment as we work our way towards pause. One more cycle here. And then using an inhale, let's press back to the hands. Tuck onto the right toes, lift the right knee, lift the left hip. We're going to slide left knee over towards left elbow and then step the left foot to the outside of the hand. Drop the hips down and forward. As you soften right knee to the floor, reach the left fingertips open. You can either just hang in the twist, or you could bend into the right knee and reach left hand to hold on to the right toes or the right ankle, finding a bit of a kick to get into the quads and to open up the heart. If this causes any tension in either knee, please let it go. Maybe you close the eyes, feel the shape with your breath. And then we'll unravel right toes to the floor, both hands to the floor on the inside of the left foot. Either staying here or coming down onto the forearms or bringing forearms onto some sort of prop. And keep inviting the hips down and forward so that we're not only getting into the left hip, but we're also lengthening out the front of the right hip. 2, maybe 3 more cycles of breath here. And then as you feel even on this side, we're going to press back to the hands. Tuck onto the right toes to lift the right knee. As you step back, bend into both knees, pull the heart back, pull the hips back. Our last vinyasa for practice, ripple forward, high plank. You can either move through one last time or just send the hips straight back, downward dog. Once you're there, let's drop into a child's pose. So knees wide, big toes together, send the hips to the heels, heart towards the thighs. Walk the fingertips out long in front of you. And sinking heart towards the mat. Just one cycle of breath here as we unwind. On your inhale, let's walk the hands back towards body. Coming up into a seat. We're going to come onto the shins to standing for one round of camel pose, tucking onto the toes, knees are underneath the hips. Hands to the low back, fingers point down. Roll the shoulders onto the back body. Engage into the glutes and open up the heart. Camel pose, Ustrasana. Maybe you drop one hand to one heel and then the other if that feels all right for the low spine. And if you've dropped the hands to the heels, let's bring hands back to low back first. Back up through center. Drop the hips to the heels. We're gonna cross over the ankles and come all the way into a seat. So legs to extend out long in front of you. Pull the toes back towards body. On your in-breath, sweep arms up and over. Really lift up and out of the waist, and then use your exhale to hinge forward, dropping the heart towards the thighs. The hands either towards the feet or the floor or somewhere along the legs or wherever they happen to land. And then drop the head. Chin in towards the chest. Soften the jaw. One more exhale to maybe sink a little deeper into the shape. And then your inhale to pull you back up through center. Reach the fingertips forward and use the strength of the core to roll down onto the back body, one vertebrae at a time. Pull the legs in towards you. We're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee, reclined pigeon, our last hip stretch, and then we'll twist, and then we will Savasana. Right arm threads through, left arm around. Let's interlace hands either around the left shin or the back of the left thigh, and invite the legs as close as you can towards body while also keeping the low back touching the floor. Maybe you circle out the ankles here. And switch direction of the circles. And keep the legs as they are. Let's extend the arms to a T. Stack the right knee on top of the left. Maybe you find the double clasp eagle legs. If that's not possible, let it go. And then drop the legs over to the left with whatever shape that they are in. Big supine twist. Right shoulder to touch the floor. Maybe you drop the gaze over to the right hand. And then using an inhale, come back through center. Unravel left ankle over the right knee. Pull the legs in towards body and thread the left arm through, right arm around. Again, inviting the legs in towards rib cage, but also keeping the low back engaged with the floor. So you're not lifting the low back in order to bring the legs closer in. And then circle out the ankles. And swap direction of the circles. Extend the arms out to a T. Left knee on top of right knee. Maybe you find the double clasp eagle. Exhale, legs drop over to the right. Both shoulders are touching the floor. And then using your inhale, come back through center. Unwind the legs, happy baby, hands to the outside edges of the feet, inviting knees towards the floor on either side of the torso. Maybe a little rock side to side, or you could straighten out through one leg and then the other. Maybe both. And the last place we're going to meet is Savasana. If there are any last shapes or wiggles or movements that you'd like along the way, I encourage you to take whatever your body is asking for to help you settle into stillness. And if you have the urge to end your practice now and to skip Savasana, I encourage you to step into the pause just for these last couple of minutes, knowing that just as much as this practice can move us into spaces of moving energy through the body and finding both strength, mobility, flexibility in our physical bodies, which helps us to move through the world with more ease, that we also get to counter that with an introspective gaze, this side of the practice that is one of meditation, that is one of svadhyaya or self-study, where we get to become really clear about who we are. And then we take that out into the world, and everything that we touch is a little bit better for it. So we use these last minutes in Savasana as a place of integration of our practice, and also as a time to create a through line so that when it's time to go back out and to move through the world again, that you take the practice with you as you go, and that you take you with you as you go. Last few moments in silence. And before you act on any impulse to move the body, invite in a deep in-breath, maybe the deepest inhale that you've taken yet today. And then open the mouth, exhale, move it through. And in honor of this practice and its roots, and in honor of you, and in honor of the humans that you are moving with, spread across time and space throughout the entire world, truly. Stay present as we transition back. Wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, circle out the wrists and the ankles. And keep the eyes closed as much as you can as we find a full body stretch. Maybe pull the knees into the chest, maybe roll onto a side. Making your way eventually up towards a seat, eyes closed at the top. Moment to linger in this space and to set the tone for whatever comes next. And you could either meet me with palms to touch at the heart or hands resting where they're at. And I thank you so much for being here. And I will move with you again soon. Namaste.